So you're very welcome to the latest edition of our video interview series, and today we have probably one of the best known players we've ever produced from the Wexford Youths, and it's Ryan Delaney. And we have loads to talk about, so we'll just jump right in, I think. So Ryan, it's great to have you. Have you been isolating in Ireland, and how are things generally?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Rowan. I appreciate it. Yeah, so I've been home in Ireland about probably maybe 3 months now. Obviously, since the lockdown, when they went into lockdown in the UK, I came home that day actually. So I've been home probably 3 weeks now, or 3 months. So it's been good to be home. To be fair, it's the first time I've been home for this long since I was back in school, even. Because normally I only get probably, give or take, 4 to 6 weeks off during the summer. But obviously now with the pandemic, there's been a lot more time to be at home.
Absolutely. So you signed for Bolton a couple of months before the lockdown began. What's the training plan like with Bolton Wanderers? Is it very individually tailored, or is it more of a same thing across the board?
So the lockdown sort of period plan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, we started off with, at the start of obviously the lockdown, they were kind of a bit 50-50. Didn't really know, it was all up in the air at the time. So to start, we probably got maybe, I think it was a 3 week plan. So we all had plans. So basically, they gave us like different options. So we had a road run, if you want to do a road run tailored for the roads. If you can get into a pitch, if you're lucky enough to be able to get into a pitch or a park that has some grass, it has like pitch-based runs. And then obviously, with the gyms being closed, a lot of the gym like legs and upper body work had to be more tailored for like at home with little equipment. So we got a plan of about 3 weeks at the start, and then we got, from then onwards, we got month plans basically. But each month they tailored it and gave it little tweaks here and there, just so it didn't kind of become repetitive and that you feel like you're doing the same thing kind of every week, which was good. It kind of keeps your body guessing, obviously for yourself as well. It's good to do something different when you can.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing then I was really keen to talk about is really how you came to get where you are today, and obviously your time at Wexford Youths. But before that, could you tell us a bit about where you started to play football and how you actually came to sign with Wexford Youths?
Yeah, so I played with my local football team, New Ross Celtic. So I started playing probably, give or take, I think maybe 7, maybe 8 even. So I went up there obviously because quite enjoyed obviously playing football, and a lot of my friends in school were up in Ross Celtic, so I said I might as well go up and kind of see how I find it or how I like it, and it kind of kicked on from there really. So I played from Ross Celtic from under 10s till under 16s to so when I turned 16 going on 17, that's when I made my move down to Wexford.
And was it a trial that you came into Wexford Youths then?
At the time, Mick Wallace was the manager of the county under 16s team.
Mm.
So obviously I knew kind of Mick quite well, and Mick obviously knew me, and he kind of basically said, look, that I think it'll be good for you to come down to Wexford obviously and push on basically. And I felt at the time we were very successful at Ross Celtic. Felt at the time that time for a little change for myself. So that came about obviously, that I came down to Wexford at 16 going 17. So I played with the under 18s for 2 seasons, and obviously the under 19s as well.
Absolutely. You moved on to the senior side then between 2014 and 2016, and the obvious highlight in that time was the First Division win in 2015. Can you cast your mind back and remember at the start of the 2015 season, did you have a sense for how strong the squad was going to be that year?
Yeah, I think at the time I think like we done quite well. I think in the year before, even the year and a half before that, but we weren't probably as consistent as we would have liked to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember coming back into that season, obviously that we won the First Division. It just seemed that everybody was fully committed and fully focused on being in the best possible shape that we could be in. and I think that pre-season went very well for us. But then at the same time, I think we were all confident, but maybe not to win the league. But I think we felt that we just missed out on the playoffs. I think the year before it would have been I think it depended on the Galway-Shelburne game.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head, and that was quite disappointing, obviously. So we knew obviously the next year we're going to have to push on. So that came into that season. We were all feeling well, and myself personally, I felt that the playoffs was a good step for us to focus on, myself. And then obviously we had that shock. Obviously, first game of the season we played Cabinteely, and I think that was a little bit of a reality check for us as well. That obviously it wasn't just going to be easy sailing and cruising through a whole season. And I think that the Cabinteely game was a good time for us to get a little knockback.
Yeah.
I think it really showed that we were really going to have to be on it every game. There was going to be no taking our foot off the gas, and I think from then on really we kicked on.
Yeah, look, it was a fantastic year, and I do remember the Cabinteely game. It was such a shock. In terms then of your development as a player, one thing I think that really gives a value to League of Ireland clubs is the benefit of having young players developing at home, near their families and all that. Do you think it was a benefit to you to develop sort of that close to home as opposed to having to move away when you were sort of 17, 18 to become a professional?
Yeah, I think personally for me, I think that was very beneficial. I think if I went over maybe at 16 or 17, I don't know if I'd still be over there at this moment in time, but I think that the way that it came about for me, it worked out very well for me that I could kind of progress at home, and even you just kind of grow up a little bit before you go, instead of going over there and then all of a sudden you're in a rush that you have to grow, and you're in an unusual environment as well with people you don't know. You don't kind of have that little bit of a comfort blanket of your friends at home, your family, and I think that's a big part to play with young players over in England.
Yeah, look, I absolutely agree. Especially your family, they became celebrities in their own right around the club. You know, everybody knows Kay. Were they a help to have at your matches?
Yeah, definitely. I think it kind of gives you a little bit of an extra boost. That they put so much time in, obviously, to go to as many games as they could for me. They go up to Ballybuffet on Friday nights, and obviously my mum having to get off work, my nanny and granddad going on a Friday night up to Ballybuffet and coming back in all hours in the morning. And then I think maybe my first year for Wexford, my mum would have been getting up the next morning early and bringing me to an under-18 game the next Saturday. And there was a lot of time I think that they gave up to help me to kind of where I am. And I can't thank them enough, obviously, for that.
Of course, yeah. In terms of getting where you are, Wexford Youths, like every other club, we've had lots of young players that were really talented. I think one of the things that really set you apart was your mindset. You were very positive, very can-do. From your perspective, do you think your mindset helped you sort of stay consistent at playing for these big clubs?
Yeah, I think that for me, you can't get too high with the highs and you can't get too low with the lows. Football's a funny game. I think everyone knows that it's not going to be just a steady rise straight to the top, or a steady rise that everything's going to be beautiful, sun and flowers everywhere. There is bad times and times you get little hits, but I think it's everyone's dream, obviously, to play football full time, obviously, and you just got to take the opportunity with the scruff of your neck, obviously. Not a lot of people get to do it, and I think that I'm lucky enough to be one of them that can.
Yeah, I think you're dead right. Absolutely, there's never, or at least very rarely, there's the dream season. Yeah. Even in 2015, like as you said, there was the Cabinteely, but also at different points in that year we did put together one or two losses. And what separated us that year maybe was also that we never let our heads drop too far.
No, I think in that 2015 season we had a good mix of obviously older lads with a bit of experience, and obviously just having more of a level head, really. That helped a lot of the younger lads, obviously, kind of help us to kind of keep our head on the ground and stuff, and it helped obviously the whole team. And even Shane and the backroom staff, like everybody was very positive. There was no throwing the toys out of the pram. Everything was fully focused on keeping the camp as happy as it could.
Was that something you learned at Wexford Youths, or do you think that's something you always had in your mentality?
I would like to say that I'm quite level-headed, and I don't. Yeah, that I like to try to keep my head on a level playing field. I don't like thinking too far ahead. I don't like thinking too far behind. I kind of want to stay in the moment, because me personally, I feel that if you think too far either way, like you're going to take your mind off the game, and it can be too late. Obviously, football, in a split second, you could be going from being a starting player, and then all of a sudden you can be bombed out of the squad, really, and it as quick as that. And I think the main thing for you've got to take every day as it comes, and as if every day is your last day, that you can try and improve as much as you can. And in the end, I think it'll all work out if you try to stay positive and put your complete mind to it and dedication to it.
Yeah. Were there elements of your game that you think you did improve at Wexford Youths that maybe stuck with you over time?
Yeah, I think like that at Wexford, I kind of had I played obviously a lot of my time at left back. Obviously, when I'll be coming through the underage teams, I would have been centre back. But I think that it helped me as well at the time, that I think maybe at the start I probably wasn't physically ready, or maybe as aggressive enough to probably play centre back at the time. I think obviously Shane and obviously the other staff would have obviously maybe taught the same, and I think that kind of helped me as well. It kind of gave me a feeler into obviously playing the men's games, and then kind of before I kind of moved over, I played a few more games, kind of more centre back, obviously in my own position.
Right, right. So talking then about your move over, how did you find out you were going to Burton?
It was a funny one, really. I think I must have finished my exams in college in IT Carlow about 2 weeks before, and I was just in my nanny and granddad's house just during the middle of the day, kind of just relaxing, I think. And I got a call off, obviously Stephen Hunt is my agent, and he basically kind of said, look, pack your bags, like you're going to Burton on I think, could he have said tomorrow? No, pack your bags, we're going to Burton on Thursday, and it was Tuesday at the time. Thinking, like, are you serious? And he was like, yeah, just pack your bags, obviously you're flying over on Thursday, and they're booking your flight back. I think he said it was Sunday morning. I was getting a flight back. It was what it was scheduled to be. So I was going over to train Friday and play against Stoke City on Saturday in a friendly. So that was grand. I kind of didn't really take too much into it, really. I just said, be a good experience. I'll go over for a couple of days. I'll come back and I'll play for Wexford the following week. If I get something out of it, great. If I don't, like, kind of crack on and focus back on it. So I kind of went over, not really thinking too much into it. So obviously went over, trained on Friday, played the second half, came on at half time, played the second half against Stoke on a Saturday, and thought I'd done quite well, but didn't really read into it too much. And then after the game, the manager just pulled me aside and basically said, look, you're going to have to stay over another couple of days, that we're going to be onto the club, obviously, to sort out the transfer.
Oh, God.
And it kind of went over my head, I think, at the time. Now that I'm thinking back of it, it went over my head. I just said, yeah, that's great, whatever. Went back to the hotel, and I think it kind of sunk in then. I was like, this actually could go ahead here. And I remember Shane obviously calling me just to see how I was getting on, really, and did I enjoy it and whatever. And they basically said, like, they weren't going to stand in my way, obviously, stuff. And then, so I stayed another couple of days, and we had another friendly on a Monday night, and I was going to be flying back on Tuesday morning. So great, obviously I'm going to get a week or 10 days maybe to kind of sort my stuff out before coming back. And then they kind of said, well, you need to come back in like 2 days' time.
Oh.
So it was a little bit of a shock to the system. I was thinking, okay, like what do I need to bring? This is the first time that I'm going away I'm moving away. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm moving away. What do I bring? What do I put in my suitcases? I don't want to forget anything. And I remember at the time my mum was actually away on holidays, so she was stressed on the phone to me, kind of saying like, "Oh, like don't worry, just kind of get whatever you can, and we'll sort out the rest if you forget something." So I said, "Yeah, great, whatever." So came home, spent all of Wednesday packing my bags, and then like Thursday came, and then went over and moved over, and that was it.
So you kind of just signed without even realizing.
Yeah, in the matter of a week, everything was done, everything was signed on the dotted line, and it was quicker. I think it's probably a good way to do it as well.
Wow, that's amazing. That's brilliant. So I mean, there's lots more I'd like to ask you about Burton, but I guess we'll just keep it going. You went on loan then to Cork City, who were sort of at the peak of their strength at the time, and you obviously won the Premier Division there as well. For a player, how big? So that was you coming back to the League of Ireland.
Yeah.
Coming from sort of one of the least well off clubs to one of the wealthiest. How big is the gap for a player in terms of facilities, in terms of coaching, from a club like Wexford Youths to a club like Cork City?
Yeah, I think probably one of the main things was obviously the full-time training, really.
Yeah.
Obviously they have the full-time training, and they have a lot more time, obviously, to be in and around a team. So the manager has a lot more time to coach the squads. When at Wexford, Shane and the staff, like, they only had a certain amount of time with us during the week. They might have only had maybe 4 hours, max 5 hours in a week training us, obviously, trying to get everything across, all the points across, when at the same time trying to make sure that we're completely sharp, focused, and ready to go on the weekend. So I think probably that was one of the main things, that obviously the full-time training. So you come in, you had a schedule, literally come in Monday, done a pitch session in the morning, you have your breakfast before that, then get your lunch, everyone gets their lunch together. So you spend a lot more time kind of with the squad and with the team than you probably would have at Wexford. And then obviously you do gym in the afternoon. So that was probably one of the main things, I think.
Yeah, when you put it like that, it's kind of amazing. Part-time teams can compete with full-time teams at any. I mean, I know Cork were at the time the very best, but it is amazing that they compete at all. So look, you're still only 23, I think, and you've already played for some clubs that pretty much every football fan knows, like Wimbledon, Bolton Wanderers at the moment. What clubs have impressed you the most?
To be fair, I think everywhere I've been, I've learned something. Whether it's going to be football wise or just in the real world, kind of, I think when I went over to Burton, I kind of grew up a lot quicker than I thought, obviously being away from home and stuff, and I felt that it was a good reality check for me as well. That obviously, just because I moved to England, that doesn't mean, oh, this is it, it's all going to be great, everything's just going to fall into place. It kind of gave me that kind of insight that you can get knocked back, and it's how you're going to react to it, to the situation. And then obviously signed for Rochdale, really enjoyed my time. Obviously we had that good FA Cup run, playing Millwall twice and then playing obviously Tottenham twice as well, which was unbelievable, like even just as a learning experience, playing against the best players that you see on TV that you never really think you're going to come up face to face with on the pitch, which is obviously a surreal moment. And then obviously kind of going down to Wimbledon, that had such a big history. Yeah. Basically everybody knows Wimbledon, everyone knows everything about the club, and it's basically a fan-run club. The fans have so much involvement in it. It means so much, obviously, the fans, because they're involved. There's fans that are in the ticket office, there's fans that are obviously doing the ground, which is really nice, obviously, because they want to have everything as easy for you as possible, that when it comes to a Saturday, there's nothing to worry about, there's nothing to complain about, that they do their job, and then it's up to us, obviously, on a Saturday to do our job.
Yeah, that's sort of what I think Wexford Youths or Wexford FC would certainly aspire to, I think, as well.
So obviously that was good, and then coming to Bolton, obviously it was massive. Obviously, even when I went on deadline day, trying to get everything sorted in time, going in, doing the medical and whatever, and then obviously going out into the pit, like going out into the tunnel, looking at the pitch after signing, how big the stadium is, obviously being in the Premier League, and then with the amount of fans obviously that they get to games week in, week out, and obviously that's what they die for, that's what they live for, just to go to watch Bolton on a Saturday, and it's just the atmosphere is unbelievable, really.
Yeah, I'm sure. So the current Wexford FC squad, there's a mix of ages, but for the most part, it's made up of players who've recently come from the under-19s, whether it was Wexford or Longford, Shelburne, a mix of other clubs as well. And you came through the same underage system, and now you're at, you're playing at a really high level, and a lot of our lads would aspire to get where you are. What kind of advice do you think you can give them at this stage of their career?
I think probably just the main thing is just not to have any regrets. I think that whatever time or whatever you're doing, whether you're doing pitch sessions or you're in the gym doing your extra little bit, just make sure that you're doing as much as you can, not just enough just to keep ticking over, basically. I think that's probably the main thing. I think that people can only help you go so far and give you enough advice or enough knowledge to help you along the way, but in the end it's up to whether you're going to put your full focus into it and really kind of say, look, this is it, I'm going to give this a proper go and see where it takes me, really.
Absolutely. Well, that's nearly all I have. I really appreciate the time you've given me, and I'm now going to put you on the spot. We usually end these interviews more or less the same way, but we'll keep it short. Who's the best person you ever played with at Wexford Youths? It's not a fair question, and I don't make any apology.
I've got to say, Danny Furlong was unbelievable that 2015 season.
Yeah.
If you gave the ball to Danny Furlong at the corner flag, he would have scored that year. And I think that says it all, really.
Yeah, no, his records were incredible that year. Well, look, thank you very much, Ryan. Hugely appreciate the time you've given us, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Yeah, take it easy.
Brilliant.